Heroes of Chardonnay continues as we journey the world of Chardonnay. And I'm thrilled to introduce everyone to a great ambassador for the wines of South Africa. We're talking about Hamilton Russell Vineyards, and that is Anthony Hamilton Russell holding the bottle of wine, the owner, proprietor of Hamilton Russell, and Emul Ross, the winemaker, sitting right next to him. Thank you guys for tag teaming on this occasion.
It's a pleasure. Good to be here.
Thank you, Ian.
Anthony, why don't you take us through a little history of the brand? I've got a little slideshow, and then we can have Emul tell us about the wine. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Let's go.
It's a family business that I took over now in September 33 years ago. Unable to access international markets because of apartheid. I returned to the country on Mandela's release and basically try to introduce the wines to the entire world. They had a profile for quality here in South Africa from the first vintage in 1981. So we celebrate this year with the 24s, 44 vintages of Pinot Noir, 43 vintages of Chardonnay. So we're not Johnny come lately, so to speak. And I focused on Pinot Noir and Chardonnay alone. They had the most beautiful thing to say about the site. We pioneered our area, which is less than a mile from the South Atlantic Ocean, 0.9 miles. Cooling current coming up from Antarctica, the Benguela Current, very strongly maritime, and importantly, on soil that was traditionally reserved for sheep and wheat. So clay content's the same as the Côte de Nuit in Burgundy, 35 to 55%. And that proved to be probably the most important factor in making our wines aesthetically more in line with Burgundy than they were with general New World Pinot and Chardonnay. So from day one, 1983, our first commercially released vintage of Chardonnay, although we made one in 1982, they excited people.
We're looking at the Emul and Arden Valley. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Very close. Hemel en Aarde means heaven and earth in Afrikaans and Old Dutch.
Are there many wineries in this region now, or I mean, has there been significant growth?
Yes, and that's been something we're immensely proud of, having shown the way to financial viability with a wine venture. My father did that at great risk in the 70s. And all I did was put that on the map. But he had shown the way to making great wine in a place that no one thought great wine could be made. And even when I took over in 1991, we were the only people selling wine. There are now 28 different properties or brands from the area, 13 different wine cellars, and growing. And the Hemel en Aarde area made up of the three appellations, I think you've marked them, Hemel en Aarde Valley, Upper Hemel en Aarde Valley, Hemel en Aarde Ridge, all contiguous, all working closely together. I think it's become the most expensive viticultural real estate in the country, with my father having paid the price of a car for Hamilton Russell Vineyards in 1975.
Fantastic. Good investment. But I know how hard you've had to work, and I know the sacrifices that, well, at least I can imagine some of the sacrifices you've had to endure. But it is really paying off. This has been a beautiful rise. I continue to see your wine featured in the Wine Spectator Top 100, many magazines giving you the poetic justice you deserve. And I thank you again for giving us the time today. We're looking at the estate here. Is this where you guys are sitting at right now?
It is. Emil had the good grace to come up to my house and brave my Great Danes. And it's dark outside. It's a different season. And that is a house I built in 1996 and planted olive grove around. So any of your listeners that are coming to South Africa and find the time to get to Hermanus, we love hosting people. We'd love to host you. There's no charge. Tasting lunch in my house afterwards if I'm here. We'd love that.
We were farming organically for about 8 years, and then we've recently moved back to more sustainable sort of regenerative practices. Where we are with occasional summer rains, we found that organic was causing us to spray more than or do more tractor passes than we'd like. And there were certain practices that we found better in some of the other approaches.
We introduced organic practices to our area. It's very much part of our philosophy, but at the same time, it doesn't help if we go out of business. And much as in Bordeaux with the high humidities, it's very hard to implement the same practices. California, it's easy. Oregon, where we make a little wine as well, it's just wine growing heaven. We have very challenging soil, as Emil pointed out.
The wine we're tasting today, recently we also received a 95-point score. I see the James Suckling 93 here from James Suckling. And who is the 95 score from?
It's from Tim Atkin, that does an annual South African report. He's known our wine for, 25 or more years, and has always respected the Chardonnay. And it was served to Mandela in Buckingham Palace. It's sold in 68 countries. As you pointed out, 3 times on the Wine Spectator Top 100. It doesn't mean it's a better wine. It just means it's got a lot of fans in a lot of places, and we work for it. It's not ours to play with anymore. It's something that we have to respect, and we are very sensitive to not changing something that has made so many people
Beautiful. We before we talk with Emil about the wine, we also carry the Pinot Noir and the Sauvignon Blanc, and having great success with all 3. Emil, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're tasting or going to taste here, and the process that we go through to get this wine in the bottle?
Yeah, certainly. So the 22 vintage, it's fantastic vintage for us. Slightly warmer than our long-term averages, but still pretty cool. In Celsius, I think just under 25 degrees Celsius for those 4 sort of crucial months where we've got fruit on the vines. From a winemaking point of view, I think because the fruit is so pristine and we're trying to express the place in the vintage, we do very little to the fruit, so it gets hand harvested as early in the morning as we can. If there's a warmer day and there's rain on the way or whatever, we do have a cold room to put the fruit in. So we'll only process cold fruit, either coming off the vine early morning or something from the cold room the next morning. Everything's whole bunch pressed, so we've got little 18-kilogram plastic crates that we'll tip into the press. Whole bunch press the fruit, and then that juice will settle overnight before going to barrel. The beauty of the whole bunch pressing is we get a very nice level of solids in the juice without needing to use any enzymes. We're not completely against enzymes. If we need to use them, we will. But in most vintages, we get away with just a settling overnight before racking into French oak barrels for fermentation the following day.
And so do you need a cold stabilize, or is that already done with this process?
We do need to cold stabilize. The wine does spend 9 months on the lease, which obviously helps stabilize a lot of those things, but we do generally keep the wine cold after élevage, before bottling.
I just want to say something about the wood, if that's all right, Jan.
Sure.
So I've just returned from Burgundy, seeing our coopers there. We're celebrating a third of a century working with them, and they're exclusive suppliers to Domaine Romani Conti. Emul has, over his years, tailor-made a barrel that suits our Chardonnay. So of our 21 parcels of Chardonnay, all made separately, all put together as one wine at the end. We didn't want to obsess about cooperage and toasting and all of that. We have a standard barrel with a Hamilton Russell Vineyards toast. which is a 300 liter, not a 228. And it's dried for 3 years, not the customary 2. And it's kind of a Hamilton Russell Vineyards toast, which is a light, long toast. And I think as you taste this 22, you'd be hard pressed to pick up any wood at all. And if you knew what we spent on the barrels, you would say, why are you doing it if you can't even taste anything? But the point is, it's a platform, it's the air exchange, it's the contact with the lees over time in the presence of small amounts of oxygen and tannin that's important. And that's one of the big additions that Emul has made to our Chardonnay, is that finessing of the barrel regime.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So once we've settled the juice, we go to these French oak barrels. A lot of it's wild ferment, so we just let the fermentation sort of happen spontaneously. We do also have a yeast called Sauvage, which was isolated on the property by a German company called 2B Firm Control. It's an organic yeast company based in Baden in Germany, and they've got that yeast isolated and available in the market, which is very nice for us, to have a stable dried form of yeast from our property, should we need it. It's not a particularly strong fermenter, but it is nice to have that security if you've got slow, sluggish ferments. Some vintages, I'd rather inoculate with that yeast from the property than have a ferment that just drags on for 3 months.
Sure. Well, thank you guys for making the time for us this morning and this evening. And we're going to taste the wine now with our group live. And
Ian, thank you very much. We're flattered that you've included us in what looks like an incredible lineup of Chardonnays. We're proud of that. Thank you.